Behind the counter, a clock reads 11:47 p.m. and you have exactly one option left. A reclining chair in an internet cafe booth the size of a phone box. 2,000 yen for the night. A shower booked on a whiteboard by the door. You are not homeless. You have a job, a suit on a hanger by your desk, a business card with your name on it. But tonight, like 15,000 people renting a cubicle in Tokyo, home is a chair with no ceiling. And for around 4,000 of them, there's no apartment waiting anywhere else. Fumiya works security part-time, and most nights he walks the same route from his shift straight to a cafe near the station, because a landlord asking for months of income proof isn't an option on his pay. He hands over an ID at the counter and pays a one-time membership fee if it's his first visit. Some chains charge around 300 yen for that. Then picks the night pack, 8 to 10 hours, checked in around 11, checked out by 8 the next morning. The booth itself is barely bigger than an elevator, somewhere between 1 and 2 square meters. A reclining chair, a small desk, a computer nobody in this booth is actually here to use. Whatever doesn't fit inside it, a suitcase, a spare set of clothes, goes into a coin locker by the entrance because the booth barely holds a grown man's legs, let alone luggage. There's no ceiling. Look up and you can hear the guy 3 booths over turning pages and smell the stale cigarette smoke drifting in from the smoking side. This is what 15,000 people a night are renting in Tokyo alone, according to the city's own survey. Most of them are what you'd expect: workers who missed the last train, students cramming before an exam, someone who just wanted somewhere quiet. But for around 4,000 of the 15,000, the survey found something else. This booth isn't a backup plan, it's the address. The room itself isn't the problem. The problem starts the moment you try to actually sleep in it. The standard chair reclines about 40 degrees, which sounds like a compromise until you've tried to hold that angle for 8 hours with your knees against a plastic partition. Premium booths swap the chair for a flat mat wide enough to actually lie down on. And they cost more for it, sometimes nearly double the standard rate, which means the people with the least money get the worst sleep every single night for as long as this lasts. Try it yourself for one night, and this is what you'd feel by hour 3. Your lower back losing the argument with the seat, the recycled air a little too warm, a phone charger cable digging into your wrist every time you shift. You don't drift off so much as lose track of time in 10-minute pieces, waking each time a cubicle door clicks a few feet away. The walls stop at shoulder height. You can't see your neighbour, but you can smell the instant ramen they microwaved 20 minutes ago. And you can hear every notification on every phone down the row. Fumiya calls his shop well-equipped because it has showers and laundry, and it does, but equipped and quiet turn out to be 2 different things, and quiet is not something you can buy back once you've already lost 8 hours of it. And a body that hasn't really slept still has to eat, on a budget that doesn't leave much room for it. Every cafe runs a drink bar, unlimited soft drinks, tea, sometimes soft serve, folded into the price, which is the one part of this that actually feels generous. But a drink bar isn't dinner. Most nights, dinner is whatever the convenience store 2 doors down has left on the shelf by 10 p.m. A rice ball, a cup of instant noodles, eaten cold if the microwave line is too long. Maybe a piece of fried chicken from the hot case if the day paid well. Tadayuki Sakai used to eat at his desk. Not because he liked it, but because 20 years at a credit card company had him logging up to 200 hours of overtime a month. And there wasn't time to go home, even on the nights home still existed. He says there's a saying salarymen tell each other: it's better to bend than to break. Nobody in that saying ever gets to just eat a meal without doing the math on it first. Eating cheap is manageable. Staying clean night after night in a building that isn't yours is where it gets harder. Most cafes have one shower per floor, sometimes one for the whole building, and you sign up on a whiteboard at the counter the moment you check in. Because if you wait, someone else has already taken the slot. 200 to 500 yen gets you a towel and a basic toiletry kit. 10 minutes, maybe less if someone's waiting behind you. Picture doing this on a Tuesday, then a Wednesday, then every single night for a month. Signing your name on the same whiteboard, waiting behind the same tired regulars. Learning which showerhead actually runs hot. By week 3, you've stopped noticing the manga on the shelves. You're thinking about laundry day and whether the machine downstairs still has your size of the cheap disposable razors they sell at the counter. Some locations have laundry, which sounds minor until you remember these are the only clothes some of these people own that aren't currently on their back. You shower, you dress in the same suit you wore yesterday, and by 8 a.m. you look exactly like every other person on the platform. That's not an accident. That's the whole point. Nobody standing next to you on the train can tell where you slept. Then the day starts, and it looks nothing like the night before it. Fumiya folds his blanket, checks out by 8, and walks to work the same way anyone else does. Past the same convenience store, onto the same crowded platform. Nobody at his job knows where he slept. That's not a secret he's keeping, so much as a fact nobody thinks to ask about. Because he shows up on time, in a pressed shirt, smelling like the same soap everyone else used that morning. The cafe he left behind still has his booth number logged at the counter for the 24-hour block he's paying for. And if he wants to come back tonight, he'll pay again from zero, because there's no such thing as a running tab here. Only a new charge every time the clock resets. All of that, the chair, the ramen, the 10-minute shower, is survivable one night at a time. It's the math across a month that should worry you. Here's the part that doesn't add up until you actually run the numbers. A night pack runs somewhere between 1,500 and 3,000 yen. Call it $20 on an average night. Multiply that by every working day of the month, and you're paying close to the rent on a small studio apartment. Sometimes more. Do the math yourself, and it stings. 2,000 yen a night, 30 nights a month, and you're already at the price of a small apartment. Except none of it builds toward anything you'll ever own or even sign a lease on. So why not just get the studio? Because renting in Japan usually asks for money nobody living in a cafe has sitting around. Starting with a security deposit, key money, that's essentially a non-refundable gift to the landlord, an agency fee, and a guarantor, someone with a stable income willing to co-sign for you. If your income is irregular, temp shifts, day labor, contract work with no fixed hours, most landlords won't even show you the unit. Run the yearly total and it gets worse. 2,000 yen a night, every night, adds up to something close to 700,000 yen over a year. And a person paying that has still never once held a key to their own front door. Nationally, close to 4 in 10 Japanese workers are now in this kind of non-regular employment, up sharply from a generation ago. The cafe doesn't ask for a guarantor. It doesn't ask for 3 months up front. It asks for 2,000 yen and an ID, tonight and again tomorrow night and the night after that, for as long as it takes to save enough for a deposit that never quite arrives. Because the cafe is exactly where those savings are supposed to be coming from, and that math is exactly why this stopped being a story about cheap hotels a long time ago. Officially, this isn't homelessness. Japan's national count of people sleeping outdoors sits at a few thousand, because that count only tracks people with no roof at all. And a cafe booth technically has a roof. The government's own survey work coined a name for the gap anyway: Net Cafe Refugees, first used by a Japanese news documentary back in 2007, when the number nationwide had already passed 5,000. The word refugee is doing real work there. These aren't people who ran out of options overnight. They're people the system quietly stopped counting the moment they found a roof. Any roof, even one that switches to the next paying customer at 8 a.m. Fumiya doesn't call himself homeless. He calls the cafe well-equipped. And if you'd asked him 5 years ago whether he'd describe a booth with a curtain for a door that way, he probably would have laughed at you. Sakai didn't set out to leave a 20-year career. He just bent until there was nothing left to bend. Neither of them wants your pity. They're asking why a country that makes it this easy to disappear indoors still hasn't made it easy to come back. So the next time you see a man in a clean suit reading a newspaper on the first train out of Shinjuku, ask yourself the question this whole night has been building to. Is he going home? Or is he going back to a booth with no ceiling, paying by the night for a life he can never quite save his way out of? The suit won't tell you. Neither will the drink bar, the whiteboard, or the receipt he folds into his pocket before the doors close. That's kind of the point, and it's worth sitting with before writing this off as just a quirky bit of Tokyo travel trivia.